So Kali released a new version, right? Since before our spring break and then after our spring break. So this is 2025 version 1. Is it completely different than the other one? No, right? But if you want to get the updated version, you can download the updated version. So I modified your document for that. Okay. So when you visit the website, it still looks the same. The version that you're going to download today is going to be 25.1. You're still going to have to extract it. So make sure that you save it to the download folder, extract it. But because we are attacking, make sure that you give it more RAM and more processor. Okay. So I'm going to quickly demo that. I know some of them are coming back from break. Okay, so I downloaded my machine. It's this zip folder right here. I right click, show more options, go to 7-zip, extract files. If you already have the last virtual machine that you use, you still need to update today because some of the application like wfuzz, they want the latest. Yeah, just to avoid issues that you're going to run into, run the updates. Okay. So extract the virtual machine using 7-zip, open it up, open up the subfolder and double click the blue file. This is going to take you to load it onto your playlist. Okay. Before you click start, make sure that you click settings, go to system and give it 8,000 megabyte of RAM and processor should be 4. Whenever that you're running scanning tool or when you are performing some kind of attacks, right, for pen testing purposes, we want to make sure you have enough resources, okay? Now, if you're doing this at home, if you don't have a lot of CPU, just try to go half of what you have, right? So if let's say that you have a quad core and you only have like maybe 8 gig of RAM, keep it the default. It's fine. It's just going to be slow. So whenever that I up this, it's going to help you with performance for your virtual machine, right? So give it more RAM and processor if you can. But if your system, if your whole system doesn't have enough, then keep it the default, right? It's already fine. It's just going to be slower. So once you change your processor and RAM, motherboard is for the RAM and processor is here, right? You can increase the value to 4 and then the motherboard is 8,000. Can you go higher? Depending on what you have on your host machine, right? These Alienware has 32 gig of RAM. I found that like after 8, it's a little glitchy on these models, but it's fine. In my forensic class, sometime we increase it a little bit higher, but you can go higher if your resources available. Okay, so once you do that, click OK and click Start. Okay, then we're gonna log in. Now, I recommend doing the upgrade and the update. Upgrade allows you to upgrade your OS or your Linux kernel to the next version. Update's only gonna pull the software, the app that is have some updates that is from Git. So you can copy and paste the command or you can type it into Kali Linux. So once I boot my system, I'm gonna log in. Okay, so depending on how fast your internet would be, right? Sometime if you have slow internet, the update and upgrade can also take a long time. So once I have my Kali logged in, I'm gonna open up my terminal. And then I should always start with an update or an upgrade. Let me see. Let me copy this. And then you can go to your But always, if you copy paste, look at your command and look at what you're doing, right? It's just, you can't go to apply for a security job and say, oh, I used to copy and paste this command, I don't know. You have to kind of see what you're doing, and you can make notes. Okay. So without the updates or upgrade, the updates, especially, your app will not work accordingly, especially if they're open source tool. That's very important. Okay. So this is going to take a few minutes to go. I want to kind of preview. So once that's done, you are going to install the DVWA, right? If you've taken my class, you're familiar with this. This is a damn vulnerable web app. It's basically a tool. So I don't have to write the program to make a web app. It's downloadable and you can activate it. So it is used for pen testing practice. It is used to, to learn. So DVWA is really made for like education and practice. So basically I'm going to install it and I'm going to start it. DVWA is depending on several components. You need to make sure that you have Apache, right? Which is a web service for Linux. It comes with Kali Linux already, Apache, right? Most Linux releases gonna have Apache, so you can just install DVWA. If you use a Linux version that doesn't have Apache, you have to install it. And in order for it to fully work, you also need to have a database component, which is MariaDB, right? Which is already installed on Kali or most of the Debian release. Okay, so we are going to install DVWA. We're going to start it, and then we're going to try to manually brute force one time, right? You're going to do an admin account with an admin password. And it's not going to log you in, but I want you to see from a back end standpoint what's happening. It's going to generate a post method. So whenever you type in some kind of information into a form, you're creating a post method. Whenever the website is showing you on your browser, right, like youtube.com, that's a get method, right? That's after the three-way handshake. So whenever that you generate any form of method, there has to be three-way handshake, right? Ready to communicate, let's send, right? So I want you to see the post method, and I'll walk you through it, and then the IP address. Because we're running this locally, you're going to see the loopback address, the 127.0.0.1. And I want you to see the session ID. We've been talking about this the whole time today in the lecture, right? You're going to see the PHP session ID, right, for that domain. Okay, so you can view that from a developer view. Okay, let's see how far I got with the updates. So when you see this, press the left arrow key, right? So it's saying, do you want to restart the services after it installed the updated package? You should say yes, unless you don't want services to turn on automatically. You want it to manually turn on. I normally select yes, so that way I don't have to go and turn the things back on, right? So you can select yes and then press the left arrow key and press enter, and it's gonna go. That's gonna take a little bit of time. So from 1% to 100%, right? While it's doing that, some of you are more ahead. So we need to put the web app there so we can test and log into the web app, right? We can brute force the web app. Once you do that, to configure that web app, I give you the real account, which is admin and password, okay? You are going to lower the security level, and when you practice later, you can increase it to medium or impossible, right? When we start out at the beginning, it's going to be very high in security. We're going to modify the security level so that way we can see if our brute force tool is effective, right? So you're going to do that. You're going to configure the web app. Okay, you're going to set up a database for it. In my ethical hacking class, we use this for SQL injection, so I can show you quickly on what that looks like and where you can use we can use it. There's tons of tutorial with DVWA you can find online. And then we're going to use Hydra, which comes with Kali. Okay. If you're using a version of Linux that doesn't have Hydra, you need to install it. And I put a link right here for you to go to their documentation, and they show you how you can install it. Okay. You need to be at root level because Hydra needs to operate at root level. Some of you might have heard of Hydra, some of you haven't, but it's commonly used for these type of equipment or appliance or tool or protocol for access or getting unauthorized access, right? So, okay, we're going to use a couple of commands or one command on Hydra, and I would show you how you can unzip or obtain the word list. So you can always find word lists that comes with the app there. Can you get other word lists online? Later on, you're going to see that I give you a Git repository where you can download word lists, but word lists are commonly shared, not even in GitHub, but everywhere, right? So we're going to use a word list called rockview.txt, and we're going to try to plug in the words from that word list, okay? And so this command, you need to do both lines, the entire thing, okay? So it's going to put in the word from the list and when it execute the function. And then just wait a little bit of time, right? You don't have to wait 15 minutes, but for sure, right, to run this through, because I tested this lab when I wrote it, it's going to be at least an hour plus, okay? So if your word list is really effective, right, to that account, it might get it, but common brute force is going to take. So wait a little bit, take a screenshot, right, answer the questions, press Control-C. It's going to tell you how many attempts as it goes, okay? And then press Control-C, and then move on to the next part. We're going to do fuzzing, which is a way that we can just put in arbitrary data until we get something. We generate some form of error because the application is going to respond. Remember what it says earlier, right? Error handling is important. So when it's misbehaving, we're going to find some issues with the app, right? Basically, you're trying to break the app to find what's wrong with it, okay? So fuzzing is different than brute forcing in that you just putting in non-intended input until it can't handle, and then you find out why it can't handle, right? And so you're gonna obtain the list, okay, which contain username and passwords, and you're gonna perform fuzzing with those lists. Understand? So it's walking you through the steps. And when you're using brute force, or for DVWA, it's going to be hosting at this port and then locally. So in the real world, this is going to be your domain IP, right? And the port that it's hosting the login page on. And that's how we can do online brute force, right? So if you are paid to be a pen tester, this part right here is going to be your hosted public domain and the port for that host. Okay. All right. So you're going to use wfuzz. We're going to fuzz using different lists, right? So first I'm going to have you use B24 list. There are tons of lists. So if you're trying to brute force a cloud account, right? Or a cloud platform, you would use like Azure list or AWS list. You can also find that within the app itself or sec list folder. And then you're going to use, so the reason why I use short list is because there's only 17 items, right? I know you don't want to wait until like 10 o'clock. So I want you to see how the tools output would be. But in the real world, we're going to use a big list, a good list, right? So as a good attacker, what they do is they build their list over time, not just to grab it from other people, right? So they might have a good list to start and then they would add it to the list. And so, and then sometimes you see this being shared. So when you look at some of the other lists, it's billions of words on there, right? So you're gonna have to sit through and wait till it puts those in. And then once you're done, take a screenshot, look at the request. And then I want you to find out more about fuzzing because this is what the industry uses now, right? You're going to go to OWASP. This is what we use for security assessment. So when you go here, you're going to see, right? They document fuzzing, what it is, how it's used with cryptanalysis, what kind of attacks. There are different types of attacks that you can use, right? You can also look into fuzz vector. And there's so much more to fuzzing. So what I give you is like a very brief, right, introduction to it with the tool that is associated with it. There are other tools. You can use Burp Suite. You can use other tools, right? And then there's protocol fuzzing, file fuzzing, you name it. There are tons, right? So the limitations. So read it, and then also cool references that you can go to, right? So I'm going to tell you the success in this industry is to be resourceful. And resourceful is not just textbook notes, question and answer, and coursework, but resourceful in, you know, materials that you can find online, self-learning, right? Practice, things that you would grow as a professional because it's always changing. So look at some of the resources here. When you have some spare time, learn more about it, right? And then, you know, so there's so much more cool things. Okay. So that's like our lab for today. I meant to do this a little sooner, but I'm already at 85%. Some of you are further ahead. So once this is all done, right, it's a lot quicker. I know some of you are waiting for the brute force. Just wait like a few minutes. You can end it if you want.
Jeez.
But real job is not just a few minutes. Yes.
So, what does this mean? I don't see a story. It says low right.
Right here. Oh, you have to expand it fully. Open this and expand it fully. When you look at development view, open your virtual machine and expand it fully. Good, Callie. So I'll post this newer reporting because I think the last year one, it has a different list, right? I went and checked. Where's your Callie virtual machine? Okay, expand it and expand. Yeah, so now you can see the tab on the left, the lower left.
So
What are you looking for? Which
Sorry.
tab? Yeah.
this one, is it here?
Do you see storage there?
No, I don't see.
Yeah, I see storage. Just keep
Oh,
looking.
it's right here.
Need some help?
think so. I did that already. So we want to take a long time.
Yeah, and then scroll down.
I just thought.
Yeah, there's your security level.
Oh,
Oh, it doesn't. So sometimes it does this, click create. Okay, now you can click back in. It's glitchy. Yeah, if you see the checkup or the create DB, just click it or refresh the page or so that way you can log in.
Thank you.
Yeah, they didn't do that before. I think it's just a newer version that modifies it like that. Okay, so after the updates, I think I'm at 99% now. We're gonna start DVWA. Okay, we're gonna install and start it. So this is a good app if you want to practice like you know, cross-site scripting, session hijacking, like it basically they built a vulnerable app for you already. You just need to install it. Okay, so we're going to install DVWA. That's going to take a few seconds. And then we're going to start it, right? So you download and install all the packages, and then you are going to start. Now, if you want to stop it, just replace the start command with stop. Okay, so after you, now keep in mind that it has all the requirement. There's PHP that it needs, that comes with Apache 2. And then it also requires like MariaDB for database. You see that here? So if it doesn't, oh, I meant to. Okay. So when you see it start, it's going to prompt you this, and then you're just going to put in your password. And it might take a second for it to load the page. So you notice that the port number it uses by default is 42001 for the app, right? And then I'm locally hosted. That means that I'm just storing it on the local virtual machine right now. That's why you're getting a loopback address like this. But in the real world with the real app, so what's considered a web app, whenever that you go to a web page that you would be able to type in something like a form to fill out, that's a web app, right? Some web apps are also mobile apps. Okay. Then you would see that it would scale to the mobile and have the menu and the appropriate things for the mobile platform. And then some of them are strictly mobile app, but they are also, you have to integrate web app to make it a mobile app, right? It has to be hosted somewhere. So that's the IP address, but this is where the public IP would be, right, on a real web app. Okay, so once you are here, right, you are going to let me drag this. So this is a web app, so it needs a browser to open, right? You're going to click the menu for your Firefox browser there in your virtual machine. And it tells you right here that you're going to click the 3 lines at the top, which is your browser menu, and you're going to click more tools and web developer tool. This instruction is for Firefox, right? On Chrome, you're going to see similar. So just click on the menu, and then you would go into more advanced option or something, and then click the developer tools to open. Okay, so more tools and then developer tool. So it's going to open up these console pane on the left. Now, the older browser, it used to be labeled cookies for storage. If you're using like an older browser, like a older version of Firefox. Okay, so developer tool is going to give you the code for this, right? See how I put my cursor on there? It's going to show this. And then, so some of the elements that's associated with the code. And then, so if you click on network, you have to reload it sometime. It's going to show you, right, the get method and the post method here. So whenever that you land on a page, that's a get. Okay. So if you're curious, you can do this with your Instagram account when you log in with your stuff. You can see everything from the back, right? What's being given to you, what picture that it's loaded right here, right? All of this comes from the web server, okay? But it's also tied to your domain, your DNS. Okay, so when I click network tab, which is on the bottom here, it's going to show up all the network communication. And then the status code is 200. That means that everything's okay. It's successful, right? If you're getting a 403, right, that's going to show up here. But now, so for this part, right, I open this up. Now I'm gonna try to brute force it one time with a fake password, right? With the, I don't know the password. I'm just gonna guess it, right? So I'm gonna type in admin and admin. So brute forcing is like trying to guess the password by trying different combination. So when you do this, right, if you scroll up, you're gonna see there's a post, because whenever you type in a form, right, it does a post. Okay, so it shows that you are trying to do the login. Okay, and then if you're curious, on the right side, it's gonna tell you some more information about, headers, which is your HTTP headers, cookies, the response and the request between the web server and your system, which is your virtual machine and itself. Okay. All right. So when you land here, I know this is glitchy. When I wrote this, I'm like, should I set, so if it tells you that you need to set up the database for this particular application. Okay, so take a screenshot of the post method, put down the IP address and the port. So the port is separated from the IP by the colon, right? We learned that already earlier. So when I look at this, right, the port is 42001. It is separated from the IP address with the colon. Okay, that's always a format for port number. Now, for the session ID, you're going to click on memory. I'm sorry, yeah, storage. My bad. Storage. And it's going to tell you the value for your PHP session ID, which is here, right? PHP is commonly used on web servers, particularly Linux web servers, right? And then the security level, it tells you, is impossible right here. That means that there's high level of security, right, for that session. And it tells you the timestamp here, right? And appropriate information and so on. But on the left, right, you can see that there's cache storage, which is a temporary information that your server store, cookies information, and then your index database. So there, we can do more with this, right? So I just want to show you where you can find this information using developer view. Okay, so if I'm an attacker and I'm trying to figure out, I'm doing recon, this is something that I would do. I would go to a web page, trying to log into it with an arbitrary username and password, see how it responds, write down the reaction, and then, find appropriate tool to correlate with that particular target, right? Okay. Any question? Okay, so once we have that, we're going to put down the security level for the cookie. In the past, it used to only label cookie, but they changed that to storage. Now we're going to move role, right? We're going to actually configure our web app. So we're going to come back here. Okay. If you see this page, you can click this part right here, right? Or you can just click set, yeah, click this one, click this button. It's supposed to have you go back home over here, but they didn't make this very good. So, I should put it in the comment, like click this and then click it again, or I'm sorry, reload it. So when you do that, it's supposed to take you out of.
What if it says login failed?
You can also go back. Login fail? Yeah, it's supposed to fail because that was a fake password that we put in. So if it doesn't take you to the login, so for this step right here, right, make sure that you can also click back button on the browser to login. Okay. And then we're going to put in a real password, which is password. Okay. And then just ignore this, don't save it. So when you are successfully logged in, you're gonna see these options, right? This app is designed for you to be able to practice brute force, command injection. We talked about this from the kill chain model earlier, SQL injection, and so on. There are also using insecure capture. So it's good practice. Where can I go to find some tutorial for this? It's all over the internet. There's tons of things. You can also go to their documentation and they would show you. So it's good to install and download. Okay, so once you here, okay, you are going to do a setup. Okay, so once you log in, you're going to click on the security tab, which is right here. Okay, we're gonna lower the security. I would practice with the lowest one as possible. Okay, if you're gonna brute force and you're new, try low and see how good your tool is and how good your skill is. Click low, and then you click submit. Okay, and you do a little bit more. You go to medium and then high and then impossible, but it's default to impossible. So I changed it to low, level up the security. The current level is impossible, right? It should match the security level that we saw from the cookie, right? By default. We're gonna make it low, okay? Now, the app doesn't have any kind of database yet, okay? So once you change it to low, you are going to set up the database. The reason why I want to set up the database is when you are doing SQL injection, that's a database, right? When you're trying to practice with things that require a database, it has a database for you. So if I was to do this manually, I have to, code the app and then, code the database. So they did that for you already. So you're going to click set up and reset database. Okay. And it tells you this is your database admin name and password. And then it doesn't have a reCAPTCHA. So you're going to click reset database, right? And that's good. When you do that, what will happen is it's going to make a small little database for SQL injection.
Mine is not allowing me to go back.
Did you reload and refresh?
Yeah.
Okay. So go down. Click reset database. And then click refresh at the top. Click the browser refresh.
This.
Yeah. And then click back.
Right.
No, back, left.
Left.
There you go. And then type in the password.
My password.
No, follow the instruction on the left, please.
I saved the password when it told me not to.
So retype the password. Step 18, 19 or something. Okay, any questions? Okay, so once you have your database, if you reconfigure your database, right? I just created database for it and I changed the security. You gotta restart it again, right? So you can close this or you can come back to your terminal. Sorry, I had two. And then just up arrow key and then you're gonna start that again and then type Cali and it's gonna reload it, right? So there you go. Okay. And if you want, you can log out and do more. So log out is here. Okay. So once you have that, then your web app is good to go. We're gonna use it for brute forcing. So we're going to elevate our privilege. So go back to your terminal. I'm going to minimize this. Okay. And then I am going to do sudo su. So make sure that you are elevated to root, right? Because Hydra will not work without.
I think you skipped 22.
Yeah, I started it already.
So you did, what's the password you put?
Cali. Yeah, whenever you see that prompt, it's just Callie. Okay, so we elevate the privilege. Then we're here. I'm at 23. And then you're gonna refresh your Hydra tool. We want to do that because even if you get the latest version of Kali down, right, you want to make sure that your app is up to date, even though we refreshed the update already. So it tells you that it clean up some stuff and then it pulls some, some lists down and it put the updated information for your app. So once you do that, right, I want you to pay attention to your file path for your default password, and then how many entries. So if you read that right here, it tells you that Hydra comes with Hydra local.csv, which is also a list, and then Hydra full, right? It cleans that up. So when you did the refresh, not only that it updates the app, which you did for the update, it updates the content or the file that can be used with the app. Okay, so we did that.
The 23 it says
Same thing, same password. We've done this before, right? Callie. Okay, then next we are going to, I want you to look at dictionary lists. These are the lists that came, right? The word list that we can obtain or we can use, I should say use, for the attack. So we're gonna do, this is LS, okay, not one or I, LS. So we're going to do a list, LSH or LH. And what that does is it's going to tell you, right, which app has which list. Okay. So in Kali alone, you're going to have a lot of different types of lists that you can use. So DNS map text, right? There's Wi-Fi one for the Fern Wi-Fi and John the Ripper, and so on. Metasploit has lists. So these apps already have, these tools already have some of the lists, but we're interested in this RockU, right? And whenever you see the GZ, that's a compressed format for Linux. Okay. And then wfuzz also has its own list, right? I've used Wi-Fi before also. It has its own list for the Wi-Fi. So we're interested in finding this RockU list. And in order to access it, we're going to have to extract. So whenever that you extract, when you see the GZ, you can use gzip, and the extension or the switch for it is D for decompress. Okay. If you want to compress, you just omit the D. That's why I highlighted. Okay. So I'm going to decompress this file right here. Then after that, now I can run Hydra with that file, right? This is the file that I extracted. I'm going to plug that into the command for the Hydra to work. Okay, so when you run this, both lines. Do you have a question? Yes.
Work for you. When I copy and pasted that, I got it, it's working. But when I copy and pasted it from the Windows sheet, it didn't come out formatted correctly, and I had to go and like remove some spaces and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it could just be the encoding between the X.
Yeah.
Yeah, Word does that.
I'm not finding the security tab to lower the security level.
Okay,
Well,
let's
it's
look
something-
at
The
your,
drop down menu
yeah,
is
so
this
on
it?
the left,
here.
you need to expand let's see, okay, so if you have, okay. Right here. Right, you logged in, right?
Yes.
What else did you put? It tells you that you log in with admin. What's that section here?
No, scroll. It's right here.
Okay, yeah, admin password. And then it tells you, okay, so on the left,
This is shitty.
Yeah. look for security tab on the left.
Okay. I see.
Oh, it's storage. Yeah, so it tells you security. Impossible. Yeah, that's the level. That means it's very difficult to attack.
How long should I let this run for?
Just a few minutes.
Is it gonna work? Will it eventually get in?
So okay, let's look at the instruction, the command that you use, right? On the site, what we're doing is we're gonna plug every, the word user into the user field. You see that right here? And the word, whatever the password on from that list, RockU list, we're gonna plug it in, right? Will it work? It would only work if there's a user account as user in the database, right? I'm gonna tell you off of that, there's no user account. That's user. Most database admin, system admin will not create a user. Understand? That's not a practice. There might be an admin account, there might be a DB admin account, there might be some form of account, right? So, so we can tweak the command to plug in other things that we would see that would be generic, like admin as a user account. So is it, so I just want to show you how you can run it with the tool, right? But you have to take a look at what you're putting in as a command. Okay, right here, user, right? User is user, so we can think of other way to do.
So
Okay.
that's not actually taking anything from the Rocky text and plugging it
It's-
into that field?
Right, it's only plugging into password field, which is this.
Oh, so RockU is just a password.
Yeah, I'll show you right now. So so we can do cat. I'm gonna copy this. You should always read the text file to see what it has, right? To see if it's good or not. You can go and open it manually, or you can just cat it. We learned that first week. There you go. Right? If the list is really long, it's gonna read everything. Can you use RockU for both things? Yeah, in the next area, you're gonna see that you can use multiple lists. So this is a good solid long list. It would be useful for like passwords, right? But see how there's complex password, long and short, right? So you can cat it to see like what kind of things in it, right? This is fast because, we up it reads it fast. So, and then after a few minutes, you can just press Control-C, but make sure you take a screenshot before you do that, right? And then answer these questions. Okay. So a lot of people ask me like, Can you get a dictionary list in other languages? Yeah, you can see. There's vamos, like in that Spanish, you see there's dictionary lists that's in German, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, you have it. Okay, so you see, right? If you scroll up a little bit, you're gonna see like love. If they use that as a password, it's gonna plug it right in, right? So this web app only have like 2-3 accounts. So, and you know, if it doesn't match, then you can't crack it. Okay. Press Control-C to cancel, then we're gonna move to wfuzz. So this is fuzzing. Remember, fuzzing is different than brute force in that we're gonna put in, right, arbitrary or abnormal data until it breaks. So first we're gonna get some lists for it. So Control-C. And we're gonna get it from security list or sec list. This takes a little bit to go and it's going to grab the objects. So once that's done, we're gonna take the username list from the username folder or directory, right? And plug that in. Okay. So there's like the common list, and then there's like tons of other lists within that username folder. So I want to show you where that is so you can see what's inside it, and it changes over time as you download it, you know, later on. So this part takes a little bit for it to go to like 13. I'm sorry, to go to all the size that it needs to obtain all the objects for you. Okay, and then after we obtain the common list, we're going to use it. Then we're going to also use a short list. You notice the list is different from the same folder. But in this one, we're going to plug in also password and username. So 2 lists at the same time. So concurrently, it's going to automate that for you. Okay. And then we're also going to match it. I mean, so we're going to plug in the password and then have it click login, you know, every single time. Okay, so that way we don't have to click it, right? So it's an automated process.
Excuse me,
Yeah, and then hide any kind of error.
that was in this step. And
What step? Which step?
right here, I restarted this, and it says the command's not found. So,
I don't think you have the appropriate command. Which step? This step right here? It's the whole thing.
no, I was here,
No, you need to do the DVWA start.
okay,
It has to be.
we did it several times.
Yeah, your command is not correct, otherwise it would highlight it.
Well, I just have to take that.
You need to backspace everything if you want to erase the command. Right? There you go. Because when you're using the arrow, you just move your cursor to. Yeah, it did copy that.
So I need to go back,
Copy the DVWA start again. Yeah. I think it's just, or type it. Okay. So I got the sec list, right? Which is this part right here for 29. Then I'm going to look at what's inside it because you want to see how many lists you're working with. And we simply just download this from Git, right? The Git repository. So there's like some honeypot capture, some stuff that comes with it, so you can use it. There's like 10 million user lists. Or, you know, so there are specific like type of systems that you can use the content of that folder with. And then we're gonna fuzz. See ya.
I'm gonna.
Okay, so we want to read this part. It says wfuzz might not work correctly when you are fuzzing SSL website. Those are the HTTPS website that uses SSL, right? Make sure that you read the wfuzz documentation. So it's saying that if you're doing this online, it might not be that effective, right? It's saying that it's handling. Yeah, so if you get the error like this, right, it says that the words and the number of payloads do not match, so that didn't work. Then I'm sorry. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to use the BTW BT4 password list. So we're gonna plug this in. And this is what you're supposed to see. It's running like that, right? And this could go on for a long, long time, right? As long as, you know, if it finds a match from your list, then it's going to give you the output for the match, okay? So that's what you see. So was that successful? Well, only if we wait till the end, right? Oh, did I not run? Yeah, I did run this one.
These are gonna look like login attempts every single time.
Right. Exactly. If you slow it down, you can see that. See, when it slows down, you can actually see this is your code, right? Your status code. And then it's whatever that it's trying to plug in. So if you're using like effective list, it should work, right? That's but in fuzzing, we're trying to look at error to see if the app has issue as well. Okay, so let it go for a little bit. You don't have to wait 10, 15 minutes. But I actually ran it on my other laptop and I let it go for a long time to kind of see. And, you know, I think it did run at the end of the list. So you can press Control-C to stop it. It does hang the process a little bit because, you know, it's still executing instruction and you have to wait for it to kind of let it go. Okay. And so at the time that I cancel, this is the amount of elapsed time that it's gone through and then the process request. So it's generating the request and you know, this value is really dependent on your system performance, right? Your processor and RAM speed. Okay, so you can say that it's not successful. It did not find a match. Let me rerun the short list because when I ran it at home, checking this, it was fast. It was like 17. There should be only like 17 items or 17 names on the list, but we'll see. Or maybe just my laptop. The other laptop was very fast. Yeah, so the output for this, it doesn't find a match. I don't think that there's enough, the correct username on there. And then in the past, when I did this lab, I had used a different list. Which is more effective, and it did find a match. Sometime we have to press Control-C a few times to get it exited from the function. Yeah, so when you run the short list the second time, because there's only 17 entry, it's quick. Okay. So take a screenshot, put down the request and the process. And then this part you can just read by and answer the questions. So that gives you a little bit of experience in using Fuzzing tool and also brute force, right? Fuzz is a little bit different than brute force. It's just, you know, you can sometimes when you put in arbitrary abnormal data, sometimes it might come up with some kind of result. But yeah, Fuzz doesn't necessarily allow you can brute with it, but it's not its purpose, right? The purpose is to be able to find like what's wrong with the app. The vulnerabilities with it. Okay, so the last part is to look up the link and then answer these questions. You just read through it. It's a short reading. And then I want you to answer this part, right? What did you learn about password attack? What did you learn about Hydra and wfuzz? And then how can you apply the concept in cybersecurity field? And then when we're done, just make sure we do shutdown now. Oops, put a period by habit. And then you shut it off. Install it.